Welcome to the IT Business Podcast, the go-to show for IT professionals and managed service providers who want to run their business better, smarter, and faster. Each week, Uncle Marv brings you real-world insights, proven strategies, and stories from industry experts, vendors, and fellow MSPs, all designed to help you stay ahead of the curve and thrive in today's tech landscape. So plug in, power up, and let's dive into another episode of the IT Business Podcast with your host, Uncle Marv.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the IT Business Podcast. This is the place, folks. You know, we go beyond the buzzwords. We talk about what actually works in a real IT business, a real MSP. And tonight we are going to dig deep into that, figure out how to build a smarter MSP. So my guest tonight will be coming up to do that. Rick Harber, founder and CEO of Decision Digital, will join me. And because some of you have been asking me, where are all the Florida man stories? Well, I will have those tonight. I've got two very good stories and a little bit of a warning for some of you that are coming from out of town. And when I say coming in from out of town, because next week, Enable is having their Empower conference right here in Fort Lauderdale. Some of you will be here, and I will see you. I am going to be there actually doing a couple of podcasts. So if you are in the area and would like to be on a podcast, let me know. I'll get you scheduled in. If you'd like to come by and see the office here, see the studio, let me know. That'll be great. I'm actually a little upset with a couple of people. You guys know that there is a standing rule that if you get within a few hours of me, you're supposed to let me know. Now, I let people get away with it if you're over on the west side of Florida and you don't know exactly how far you are. To be honest, Naples, it's only an hour and a half. Right across Alligator Alley. Tampa, 4 hours. Orlando, 3 hours. And for those of you that don't believe there is a Florida south of Orlando, shame on you, first of all. But second of all, if you're going to be in West Palm, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, hello. I'll let you guys know when I'm in your state. Why don't you let me know when you're in mine? Okay? So, conferences, I mentioned next week, SolarWinds Empower is going to be here from the good friends over at Enable. A lot of other conferences going on. It's Overlap City. MSP Summit is happening in Vegas. That is also the same dates as the Enable's Empower, April 13th through the 16th up in Vegas. Where else? There's MSP GeekCon is coming up in Orlando, Florida. Florida is, man, we are the hotspot for conferences. So you guys should go there. I think there's a Channel Pro Defend somewhere right now. I think it started today and tomorrow and a whole bunch of other events. So you guys should get out and see what's going on. Say hello to everybody out there. I want to do one quick update because a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about NetAlly's new LinkRunner, the 1500. This is kind of like the entry-level mini version of the LinkRunner 3000, 4000, and the Etherscope. It's very basic. And when I did that review, I let you guys know it's really basic. It only does copper. It doesn't do fiber. But if you need a frontline tech to go out to a place and you want to give them something to, do a test, this would be the thing to do it with. Now, at the time when I was doing the presentation, I had a cable plugged into the wrong place. So that was one thing that I wanted to get correct. I was going to do another video and do that update, but I'm figuring, you know what, I'm just going to do it here. So I've got up on the screen what you can see when you turn on the LinkRunner. And one of the things that I did not do was I did not do a proper test with PoE. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to stop moving icons around. Well, don't know how that happened. But there's a way that I can do settings to turn on the PoE. So test PoE before link is one of the options, charge battery via PoE, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to show, this time I have it plugged into a proper port. And so when I hit the start test, the doesn't look like it is updating on the screen there. I'm using VNC, which is what you can do to get into, let me actually, nope. Oh, I guess it doesn't work when it's plugged in. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm going to talk to the NetAlly folks about this because, yeah. So I'll just show you here. Let me take this off the screen and prove to you that I did run it. I'm going to try to turn it so you can see. Yeah, this is horrible. So I got to get me a little setup like Carrie Holzman and Tom Lawrence. But basically, that's the closest you're going to get to see an image that I did run a test, and it did do PoE, and it has greens, and it does the thing where it tells you, you know, the green and the yellow are doing the powering. It got a DHCP, got DNS, did an update out to the cloud, and it was good. The one thing that I did talk to them about was the fact that no Wi-Fi. And they said, well, you can add Wi-Fi. So I actually went and I purchased the Wi-Fi dongle that you can just simply add to the LinkRunner here. And so what it does give it Wi-Fi. So I can connect and do the link live and do updates. But what I cannot do, still cannot do Wi-Fi testing. So that's something I'm going to talk with them about because, to be honest, this would be great if it tested fiber and tested Wi-Fi. Right now, it just tests copper. And yes, I know they are a sponsor of the show, but I call it like I see it. And I've let them know. So it's not like I'm telling them something they never heard. So anyway, Mr. Balzerati, my Star Trek buddy, how are you, sir? Working hard as always. Yeah, that's me, sir. Thank you for visiting the stream live. We do this every Wednesday, or as many Wednesdays as we can if I'm not on the road, 8 p.m. Eastern, so you're always welcome to join me. It's usually, the opening monologue is a little bit better than this, but that's what happens there. With that, let us go ahead and move on to the next part of our show. So let's do our commercial, and then I'll be right back with our guest.
Is your business truly protected from cyber threats? ThreatLocker is the gold standard. Zero trust endpoint protection, trusted by IT professionals everywhere. ThreatLocker blocks everything that is not explicitly trusted, denying all applications and scripts from running unless explicitly allowed, and also includes ransomware. Easy to deploy, easy to manage, and backed by a 24/7 support team that is lightning fast with response times around 60 seconds. Stop cyber attacks before they start and sleep easier at night. Lock down your endpoints and say goodbye to ransomware. Click on the ThreatLocker link in the show notes and start your free 30-day trial today. Be sure to also check out our other amazing sponsors, NetAlly, whose handheld network test and analysis tools give IT pros fast, easy visibility into wired and Wi-Fi networks so they can quickly find and fix problems. OneStream, a unified communication and integration platform that centralizes voice, messaging, and contact center tools for MSPs with deep CRM and PSA integrations and automation. And TrueGrid, your secure remote access platform designed to simplify delivering remote workspaces without VPNs or exposed firewalls. For more details on these partners, check out their links in the show notes.
All right. One other thing I did not announce earlier that I should do because I'll forget later. The last Sunday of this month, April, I believe it's the 26th, and I'm going to open up my calendar just so I can make sure because I obviously did not prep this part of the show either. But yes, April 26th, which is a Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern, we are doing a very special live episode as that is going to be show number 1000 for the IT Business Podcast, which started out as Podnuts Pro. So I have reached deep into my bag of tricks, and I have got Matt Rainey and Martin Obando, the hosts that started with me when I took over on show number 81, and they're going to join me for a special live episode there. And then I've asked a friend to also do some stuff. I'm not sure if I trust what's going to happen, but that will be a celebration show. And we're going to go back and revisit some of the Podnuts Pro days. We're going to talk about some things that we did well on the show, probably some things that were crappy on the show, but begin to mark your calendar for that. And if you're so inclined, head over to the website and click on Show 1000 at the top right there. There's just a little quick thing if you want to give a shout out to something that you've learned on the show, one thing that either helped you, one thing that stood with you, kind of got you to keep going or help you make your MSP better. Or maybe it was just a funny thing you remember on the show you just can't, get out of your mind. But share that with me and we'll add that to the show. Okay, my guest tonight, Rick Harber, founder and CEO of Decision Digital, an MSP that's been at it for decades. He is also one of those go-to brain trust folks when it comes to ConnectWise automation. And apparently he's doing a lot of stuff in AI as well. I'm talking about Rick Harber. Rick, welcome to the show, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here, Marv. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining. I've been chasing you for a while, and you finally found some time. So thank you.
I had to surrender at some point, right? I got exhausted from running.
Well, I was going to sick, Michelle on you if it came down to it, and just give my listeners and viewers an idea. So I met Rick via Liongard CEO Michelle Accardi because even though it came time towards the end of 2024 for me to start looking at a new tool to add to my stack, I told her, I said, well, I'm not going to just sit and, go through a demo. I'm not just going to sit and listen to, everybody at the booth tell me how great it is. I want to find somebody who's used it and can vouch for it and give me, a list of reasons on why it has changed their MSP. And she said, I know the person for you, Rick, and you're the guy I talked to and the guy that convinced me that I should do Liongard.
I hope that you've been happy.
I have.
Okay, good. Then we can continue on, because otherwise I was going to say, wow, look at the time. Maybe I don't need to be here.
Yeah, actually, so here's the funny thing. So Liongard is one of those products, kind of like a threat locker, kind of like some of the other tools in our industry that are very robust and can do a lot. And sometimes you may have to dedicate a person just to get the hang of it and stuff. And I think a lot of people shy away from those tools. You've got a big enough MSP that you can absorb that. Me, Mr. Boutique, can't. So it had to be something that, even though it's robust, it's still manageable, in my opinion, for the smaller MSP.
I agree. I think when I look at the different people who use Liongard kind of across the board, I have people that are very actively involved the way that you're talking about, with somebody who's what I call a platform champion, who is in there all the time. Some companies have it open all day long. We have it open pretty much all day long. And then I have some others that fit into the category you're talking about. Interestingly, though, Liongard in a way is almost like the friend that you've had forever that maybe you don't talk to all the time. And then when you go and talk to them again, you pick up right where you left off. And sometimes there's a lot of things in there to talk about. I think one of the strengths that they have is the drift control system that they've got, where it's like a time machine, right? You figured this out, that you can go back and see when something happened.
Yep.
But in a way, it's kind of like, that old friend where you can pick up where you left off. If you want it to be nagging you all the time without you being there, you can, obviously. But tell me if you've figured this out, or if it's impacted you. Every time that you go in there, maybe if you haven't been in there for just a little period of time, you're just like, man, I need to be in here more, or there's so much more stuff here that I can be diving into, or I didn't know that it could see that and this and tell me what I need to do to make that better. Seems like every time you jump in there, you have that kind of a moment. And then you look down and 3 hours has passed, right?
Yeah. I mean, of course, it starts with me with the alerts.
Yep.
If you let the alerts pile up, that could be something that you could spend a lot of time doing that. And what's funny is there are times where I'll be going, I'll clear alerts.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I've cleared, a third of the alerts, some of them have already reopened.
Yep.
Because they're like, well, we don't think you remediated this enough. And I'm like, ugh. And I've chosen not to silence them, which I know is an option, which a lot of people do.
Some do.
You know what? I don't want to hear about that. I know I just leave them on for now. I want to go through that nagging process so I can figure out, okay, if I turn it off, why am I turning it off? Is it a good reason to turn it off?
Yes.
Is it something to talk with them about, okay, what am I doing wrong that this keeps popping up? So that's how I view it.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of squelching too many alerts. And you lose out on a couple of things. When you lose out on, we have so much information coming at us, you and I and the rest of the community every day. Correlating that back to something that's causing it over and over again can be difficult to do. It's not even a needle in a haystack. It's a needle in a stack of needles. This keeps coming up, but maybe it doesn't come up right away. Maybe it comes up once a week. Maybe it comes up once every 10 days, but it keeps coming up. If you just treat everything like that as benign and don't look into it, number one, it's going to keep nagging you. But more importantly, when you let that stuff flow down, it also demonstrates value to the clients that you and I service. I want some of that stuff to come in. I want it to pop a ticket. I can use automation to analyze it or even affect a change, but I want to report on that, because at the end of the month, when I send a report out to my clients, it says, we're charging you $10,000. Behold all the stuff that we've done for you. It doesn't say this is stuff that a human's done for you. It's stuff that we've done for you.
Right.
And we is human technicians, automation technicians, all on the ready, standing on the wall for our clients, right?
Yep.
It's important to be able to report on that, to continue to reinforce that relationship that we have with our clients for the thousands of dollars that they're spending. And quite honestly, the immense amount of trust that they've put in us to, again, be on the wall and looking down and making sure that everything is just another day.
Yeah. A couple of things that it's done is it alerted me, I guess is not the proper way to say it, but we started billing for more Active Directory users because Liongard will take and show you active users or active accounts, whether they're users or not. So if you've got SharePoint servers and you've got the SP Farm account and you've got, your backup admin account and stuff.
The old IIS account, all that stuff.
Yeah. So the people because I bill per server, per computer, per user. And I've got a firm right now that, they're down to 78 users, but I'm billing them for 93. And they're like, why? And so I showed them the list of accounts is I've got to protect these accounts just like I got to protect a user account. That backup admin account is more valuable than your user's account. So just because we're not using it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be protected. So
I find, do you find yourself sometimes having a conversation with your clients of, you get the phone call, something in the firewall is not working suddenly, and you start to have a conversation with them almost like they're a 10-year-old. Okay, well, what did you do? Well, I mean, you have admin credentials. I know what we didn't do, right?
Right.
What did you do? And you kind of get that eye roll of like, nothing, right? Lo and behold, 10 o'clock the night before, somebody was in there pulling levers and turning knobs to see what some feature would do, not knowing what the effect would be. Now, how do we know this? Well, one of the greatest, one of the two greatest stories that I have in Liongard is that same scenario playing out with a company that's in the aerospace business, and suddenly they were impeded from doing stuff with the government, and they didn't know why. And we went into Liongard, and we could see that the night before, late in the evening, one of their engineers was in the firewall making changes. They made what they thought it was an uneventful change, and lo and behold, it knocked out their ability to communicate with the Navy, which was a problem. But asking the questions of what happened, well, we didn't do anything. Well, here you go. At 10:03, I see a change in the watch guard right here. This rule was modified. How do you know that? Well, this is what you pay us to do, right? That was the first time that it saved my backside. Second time, true story. You can actually ask Joe Alapat about this from Liongard. He and I were at an event together in Las Vegas. This is a couple of years ago. I was about to speak, and one of the things that I needed to do was to bring up some content that was on our website. So 15 minutes before, I'm prepping, getting everything ready. I open up the website. The website's completely blank, offline. All right. I'm in Vegas. My office is in Atlanta, and I'm wondering what's going on. Maybe I've got bad Wi-Fi. So I'm doing the things that you would do, right? What do? We come off the Wi-Fi that's local. We immediately bring our phone out. We hotspot it. We connect. We double check all those kind of things. I pull it up on my phone. I'm getting the same kind of things happen. What is going on? So I start to message my team through Teams. Website's down. What's going on? And they start to frantically look, and they see that it's down too. At the same time, I'm messaging my marketing guy saying, can you pull a copy of the content and just give it to me? I'll put it local on my machine, and and at least I can get over the hump, right? What's going on? Website's down. Oh, I was in there doing something a little while ago. Hang on a second. Service delivery manager is pinging me in Teams. He's in Liongard. He is looking at the timeline and sees that the DNS entries for our website were updated 5 minutes before. How did it happen? My marketing guy clicked on something in HubSpot that said, hey, we can start taking care of all your inbound email routing. Just click here and we'll update your DNS record so that we can route that mail through. Something to him that was relatively innocuous, right? Shame on them for making it sound like it was innocuous. He clicked on that, wiped out all of our DNS records, at our hoster, and immediately the website was down. Now, we figured out what that was. Here's the magic. The magic was, by looking inside Liongard, I could see what the previous DNS IP addresses were. It became a 5-minute fix to roll it back. Now, under normal circumstances, what would you and I do? We would be fumbling around to figure out what's that IP address? How do we figure it out? It's on a public hoster. What do you do, right?
Well, hopefully you put a documentation in your IT glue or Hoodoo or something.
Absolutely. But this became a real-time lesson. Meanwhile, as all this is going on, I get it fixed. I present. I walk off stage. Liongard's got a booth there. Joe Alapat is working, and I walked over to Joe and I shared this story. After he got done laughing at me, which only a friend will do, he gave me this lovely, Liongard saved my, ASS shirt, which was very funny. But he's told this story to several people. And he's like, were you embarrassed? I'm like, no, I'm not embarrassed. I'm the embodiment of what the platform solved, right? It happened to me. I'm really good at this stuff. And it happened to me. And this is how it was resolved. And it took minutes to do. We could have been floundering around for hours, and I would have been dying on stage.
Listen, Liongard proves that, doesn't matter how good we are.
Right.
People can still do stuff.
Oh.
If we give them the tools, whether it's our own technicians, our subs, our customers. That story you shared, I had a customer do that exact thing, even though I knew I should have stayed on top of it. They were switching to a new web provider.
Hmm.
And I had talked with them about, okay, we're keeping the DNS here. All you've got to do is give me the A record, blah, blah, blah. And somehow I did not force myself to stay in the conversation, in the process. And the day they decided to make the switch, the person that I spoke with at the web company was not the person doing the change.
Right.
And that person said to, the owner at the time, he said, okay, so we can switch everything over because we'll switch it over to our platform. We'll do all of this. And they're like, yeah, no problem. So made the switch. Website looks great, works great. Oh,
Hmm.
no email.
Yeah, kind of
And
important.
I knew exactly what it was, but
Yep.
they're like, well, no, we didn't do anything. They said they didn't do anything. I went to Liongard. No, here it is. This is when the change happened. Wasn't me.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah, but
oh
this
my.
this brings up an interesting piece too, right? Because as you mentioned about having documentation for this, which we did, right? The recovery was swift. There were several people who were able to look into this and find out what needed to be done in order to help me when I'm halfway across the country, right? It's an important point to make to the audience about something that I tell people all the time, which is that process beats talent every single time, right? Having the process nailed down so you know where to go, what the tools can do, and get the information out of them is paramount, right? Early on, we all kind of when we started, we relied on our hero techs, right? And they could fix anything. That's how we all began. I mean, we didn't have a lot of things. We didn't have ChatGPT. The internet wasn't to the level that it was, but that doesn't scale. And so as time goes by, the documenting of process, the utilization of the tools, even educating people where stuff lives, as silly as that sounds, right? Because the average, according to the great, the great seer of knowledge out there is Peter Kajawa, who I absolutely love and adore. He says that the average MSP at this point's got 20 to 25 platforms, right? That they are having to marshal on a daily basis, right? You and I have been in this a long time. Um, there is so much information screaming at us all the time. You can't possibly coalesce all that into a meaningful comprehension. And that's where you have to have, at the very least, you have to have process that's there to be able to understand where that stuff lives and where to look. If the business is depending on your best technician having a good day, you don't have a business, you have a bottleneck, right? Is what you've got. And the only way you begin to solve that problem is to have that good process in place so that when the things do not go the way you expect them to, you can affect the change rapidly without people fumbling around to try to figure out. How many times have you heard the conversation go down with either a client or another partner, an MSP that says, well, all the information was there. We just couldn't put our hands on it quick enough.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And why is that? Too many tools? Maybe. Staff not educated to know everything lives? Probably. Right. Um, it's an investment that you have to make constantly in not only having the information, knowing how to get to it and quickly in many
Yep.
cases, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's scrap whatever we had on the plate here and go back because I want to give listeners an idea of when that became real for you because we're trying to talk about this build a, smarter, more profitable MSP.
Yep.
But I want to go through the process for you when you started your business. What was it like in the beginning and what were the steps that you took that really made the big pivot for you into this new world of MSP?
Well, I started about the same time that you did. The first tablet I saw was the one that Moses brought down from the mountain.
Okay.
Right. When I got
And
started,
the third, it was only two because the third one broke.
The third one broke. Correct. See, we really are showing our age. In 1997, the world looked very different than it does now when we were starting out. We were building the first networks for companies, the first Windows networks, the first Unix networks. We were moving off some customers off of AS400, OS390 systems into Windows networks, right? Coming off token ring networks to Ethernet networks. From the very beginning, um, I always felt like I needed to have a guiding principle that was there. If you were to come into my office in Atlanta, there is a picture on the wall in front of my computer screen. It's been there since day one. It is and now I'm going to really age the both of us. It's a
Okay.
Xerox copy of a picture of Albert Einstein. Now, of course, I could have replaced this thing, Marv, 50 times over the last number of years, but there's something about it being that original one. There's a copy of it in my office. There's a copy of it in our tech room. It's a picture of Albert Einstein, and it says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I was very deliberate in putting it into my field of vision so that as I'm talking to people, as I'm preparing information, it's always there and I'm forced to look at it because it's course correction for me. We know, you and me and many others, we can speak at varying levels technically. But at the end of the day, the bulk of the people that we speak to, barring people that are in the industry, we speak an entirely different language to people. And it's hard for us in many ways to bring it down to a level where people can easily understand it. And so I learned early on that I had to be authentic. I had to be deliberate, that words mattered, and that I had to phrase things in a way where people, they may not understand everything that I'm talking about, but they can be comfortable enough to get their arms wrapped around it and say, okay, I kind of see where you're going with this. And I'm starting to feel more comfortable. That builds trust. And they also just don't think that, oh, this is just another network jockey that's going to sling around acronyms and make me feel stupid. That's not the goal. So the first lesson that I learned early on was to speak clearly, and also to use words that people could easily understand. We do black magic every day. We do. And even to this day, people think, they look at what we do and they're like, I don't even have any idea how you guys do that. And now add AI into that, and they think we're from another planet, right?
Yep.
So that's the first lesson that I learned early on. The second lesson that I learned is that revenue growth without operational maturity is dangerous. So you can sign up clients all day long. You can build up that revenue stream and you can pat yourself on the back and be so excited seeing your bank account increase. Behold everything that I'm doing. Here, the success that I have is based on the amount of money I have in the bank, the amount of billables I have every single month. But what you start to realize is that the more that an MSP starts to chase, recurring revenue on an ongoing basis, and if they ignore what's underneath, it just starts to fall in on itself. And so I realized as I was moving on my journey that when I started to see extraordinary growth, I had to deliberately pump the brakes to slow down just a little bit to make sure that the way that we were delivering service, the quality level remained good and high, that we were expressing gratitude to people on an ongoing basis. And I'm going to come back to that. But that our processes were continuing to scale with the business. I never wanted to be in a spot where I was going, holy crap, how am I going to do that? That was early days. That was the first day in '97 on a Friday when I built my first NT server, right? From a book that I had from Mark Manassi, which was called Mastering Windows NT, which I still have to this day. I built it on a Friday, and Saturday morning I crashed my first NT server, right? We were allowed to be cowboys then.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to be cowboys now. There's much more at risk, right?
Absolutely. I remember building my first NT server with a buddy of mine because I wasn't sure I could do it. We started out on Friday. We slept on the client's couch overnight to get it up and running.
Totally. I had nights like that. I remember, do you remember when we were doing migrations from Exchange 5.5 or Exchange 2000 up? I mean, it was an all-nighter. And you had to have Microsoft on speed dial. You knew going into that process, there was at least another $500 that you were going to spend for that tech support call with Microsoft, and they needed to be on the ready because it never went the way it was supposed to, ever.
No, because that whole information store was just a nightmare.
Terrible, terrible, right? So, we didn't really scale when revenue, grew. We scaled when delivery stopped breaking every time we sold something, right? That's the lesson you learn as you move through this. And then the other thing you have to understand, well, what I had to understand, is that we're in the raw. If you want to be in the business of sitting still, this is not for you, right? If you want to be in the business of just telling people what they need to do and just expecting them to blindly listen to everything, you're in the wrong business. Clients are unpredictable. Sometimes they don't listen to root logic. We were just talking about this a few minutes ago. You have to have patience, and you also have to understand that when you sit down with these folks, that you have the unique ability to let them transfer pain to you, and that your role is to listen to what they're doing and to help them solution their way through it. I tell people all the time when I meet with them, as you get older, your presentation becomes shorter, because at that point you get to be my age at 50 and you're like, I don't need to sugarcoat anything any longer. I function under really one rule. I can become a little unfiltered but not unhinged, right? But I tell people the same thing when I meet them all the time. We do tons of stuff, right? So do you. I just say my responsibility is to marry technology up to whatever your forward-looking business strategy is. That's it. And at that point, when I put that in front of somebody, that puts me in listening mode and not speaking mode, because they're going to tell me the direction that they are going. And then my responsibility is to look in my bag over here at all the tools that I've got and then marry up the tools to whatever their forward-looking strategy is, right? That's what we do. It's a simple thing that we do in order to, and the last part of that, I kind of said it just a minute ago, and it's completely underrated, is expressing gratitude. I don't know that there is anything that has gotten me further in my career than just making an authentic attempt to express gratitude, telling people thank you, telling them that you appreciate the opportunity, knowing that they have a choice and they're choosing you. And that is a sacred trust that you build with folks. And it sounds corny. It even sounds a little bit old school, but it has served me well. And people, especially in the time we live in, where so many things can be fabricated, people appreciate authenticity. They appreciate gratitude, but it needs to be sincere. Doing it for the sake of doing it, people understand that they can sniff that out, right? Over and over and over again, that becomes part of your persona, and people know that and they can sense that. And that has led to so many doors opening all around the board. Yeah.
Yeah. They want to know that you're going to be on the journey with them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be trying to drag them, away from their goal to your goal. So that's a big thing. And you talked about saying thank you. I did that this morning. One of my law firms, the person that I had dealt with for the last 15 years retired, and I'm dealing with they're not new partners, but they're new in their position where they're now managing the firm. The old attorney, he did everything. Everybody else just got to do their job and be happy. He took care of all the decisions. He took care of all the IT meetings with me.
Yep.
And I found out today that, he never told them anything. So they've been spending the last couple of months, spinning their heads as to how do we do this? How do we do this? And I finally convinced them to say, why don't you let me come in and have a chat with you? And I'll tell you what he and I did together to get us to here. And hopefully you'll appreciate that enough to let me continue that with you. And I said, first of all, thank you for not firing me. because I know that was one of their things is, why are we paying this IT guy so much money when we can go out? I mean, the one attorney was like, well, we can use AI and we can hire somebody for 40 grand to do what he does.
Sure.
And they did a little bit of research.
And there's a place for that, right? I mean, there's a place. But if you think about the guys that you know in the industry, the guys that I know in the industry, the way that we carry ourselves with the work that we do, it's personal to us.
Yeah.
It's always been personal to us. And I remember when I got started in business, and some of my early mentors and people I know, don't ever make it personal. It's all business. You don't want to get that close to people because they're always going to screw you. They're always going to disappoint you. That I number one, that's a generational thing, right? For sure. But second, I've always been a firm believer that it's what you make of it. If you subscribe to that belief, then you manifest that, and that's what you become, right? If you don't, and people have different ways of talking about that. Some people say they call it karma. Some people say it's putting good energy out into the world, right? And listen, I'm a lifelong deadhead. I subscribe to some of that stuff, right? For sure. But I think it's a choice, first and foremost, of the type of person that you want to be. And if you're in business and you make it personal, then you create friends along the way and you create connective tissue that rewards you in so many ways. Sometimes it's not right in front of you. Sometimes it happens years down the line. But it's personal for you. It's personal for me. And I'm perfectly comfortable with the fact that my career has been built around it being personal for me. Never shied away from it at all. At all.
Well, I was one of those people in the beginning where I was not going to mix business and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
But I did, because I found out you have to. I mean,
Yes.
you can't be a robot to these people. And I'll tell you a story later afterwards about a chat I had today about a secretary who I worked with 15 years ago in a roundabout way. But let me ask you this, because I want to get some of these things out in terms of nuggets for people. You started to tell us a little bit, but first of all, when you started, was your plan to be where you are now? Did you want to have a big firm? Did you want to have, a staff this size? Did you want to be one of the industry leaders when it comes to, utilizing ConnectWise, automation, blah, blah, blah? Was that your plan in the beginning?
I think it was a dream.
Okay.
I think we all have that. I'm going to be this person, right? You have aspirations that you want to be that person. It wasn't what I set out to do originally. It's what I became.
What did you
Quite
want to do?
honestly.
What did you want to do originally?
I wanted to originally I wanted to bring really, really sophisticated technology down to small, medium businesses because I felt like they didn't have the money to hire big talent from big firms to do the things that needed to be done. And I felt like they were being left behind. I got that lesson taught to me when I'd had a short stint before I started Decision Digital. I worked for my dad in the apparel industry. I was a very high tech guy in a very low tech field. And I saw this front row and center about how they needed to move, they needed to advance, but they couldn't because those resources were only available to big companies, right? And I saw that there was an opportunity there to be able to fill that role. That's really the original mission of Decision Digital was empowering people with the knowledge of technology. That was the original mission. And we grew from that, but that was the seed that was planted this is what I want to do. I had a vision in my head as time went by of some point down the line where I've been blessed with these different things that have happened from opportunity and persistence. And that I wanted to have an opportunity where at some point, people would respect the fact that I've amassed this knowledge and maybe care enough to let me help them not make the same mistakes and blow their leg off the way that I did at some point in my career. So I have gotten to the point now at that stage where, especially in the ConnectWise community, there are people who want to understand what we're doing, how we've done it, how we've gotten to be where we are, how we're doing more with less, how we're solving problems now with that human horsepower. We're at the tip of the spear of that with using technology and automation and AI to be able to add on hundreds of endpoints without adding staff. And there are companies that I work with at this stage that are 50 times bigger than we are. And they're looking at us and saying, how did you do that? Right? How did you do that? And they're doing it because they're like, you figured something out. And we want to know what you figured out. Do you mind sharing that with us? Sure. 100%. And it's awesome.
Well, I was going to ask you, how do you do it? Because is it something where you are the biggest gains? Let's start with this. And I'm saying, are you finding the biggest gains in efficiency, response time, margin? Where is the biggest gains?
The biggest gains have been kind of a combination of all those.
Okay.
Depending, like we chose to tackle the automation of service delivery first, right? I felt like if we can get humans out of the way of doing triaging of tickets, for example, and then getting them profiled and getting that consistency of data, if we could solve that problem with automation, how much time would that bring back to my crew? So the average MSP, it takes about 10 minutes for a human to triage a ticket when it comes inbound. Here's the information that came in, assuming that the client gave you everything that they're supposed to, and they just didn't say, my PC stopped working, right? But there's a method that they're going to go through to read that information, to profile the information, get it into whatever PSA you're using. We use ConnectWise, but whatever ITSM that you're using, to get all that information loaded in, to kind of get a gauge on the customer sentiment. Hey, this came from Marv. Is Marv on fire? Is he okay? I mean, where is he at temperature wise? To get all that information put together and then get it in a place where a tech can start affecting a change. On average, that takes about 10 minutes. There are a lot of people listening to this podcast who are remarkably smart. And right now, they're thinking in their head about what their ticket traffic looks like, and they're multiplying it by 10 to come up with the number of minutes. And most of them right now are confirming that I'm right. There's a couple of guys that are there, it takes us 7 minutes. There's another guy that might say take us 9. But on average, it takes about 10 minutes. In my organization, that process and more takes 6 seconds. 6 seconds. Ticket gets profiled, type, subtype, item, sentiment gets determined, a template gets applied to it, an average number of hours of what it'll take to fix it based on the body of all of our tickets. All that gets done, and then it gets put into the queue ready to go. That takes 6 seconds in my organization. Now, you're doing it too. I see it in your head. The gears are turning. You're doing the difference in math between 10 minutes and 6 seconds. And instantly.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm thinking, okay, did you do this before AI or?
Oh, no. We were already doing a good job of like keeping our data level before AI. We were already using templates. We were already profiling them. But people make mistakes, right? They make mistakes. Sometimes they pick the wrong thing from a dropdown.
Yep.
So when AI came along, it took what we were doing and it amplified it to the point of the good things that we already started doing. Holy cow, it got a hold of that like a bone in a dog's mouth. And then it just took it and ran with it. And so couple of interesting things started to happen. The time went way down. We were seeing this stuff happening in seconds instead of minutes. Okay. The other thing that happened, we're going to call it a happy accident because I wasn't expecting it. Sometimes our technicians, I know I'm about to say it and everybody is going to get upset when I say it. Sometimes our technicians make mistakes. They do. They're human. They were picking the wrong things. The AI was walking behind them and saying, hang on a second, I don't think you got that right. I'm going to update this for you, right? After about 3 months of having this run, the workflows and the AI automation and everything against ConnectWise, in 3 months, we got to December of 2020 or January of 2025. My service delivery manager came and said, I want you to look at something. I was looking at statistics for ticket traffic and close rates and all the kind of stuff you and I look at all the time. And I looked at the numbers of tickets that we processed and the amount of time it took. And I said, this number's got to be wrong. Go back and run it again and double check it. And my service delivery manager said, I ran it 4 times. These are the real numbers. And you know what the math told me? The math told me I didn't need a dedicated dispatcher any longer. Now, the goal wasn't to cost that person their job. That wasn't the goal. But the math doesn't lie. And when it showed us what was going on, immediately I said, this is the real deal. What can I do next? Right? So service delivery is where I really, really felt it first. And the time came back to us. Quality level of work went up. The velocity that we were moving stuff through was amazing. It still is amazing. I shouldn't say was. It continues to be. And then the next things we started to do was focus on the little annoying things, the ticky-tacky things that you have to do every single day inside of any kind of a program. Do I have to do 3 mouse clicks to do that any longer, or can AI just take care of that, right? We started to take little things like that, and I'll make it practical for you. Every time that we start doing a project, we create a Microsoft Teams team to interact with our client. That's the collaboration tool that we use. Everybody else in the world, what this looks like is they go into Teams, they create a Teams team, they create the channels, they assign permissions, they send the invites to the client, everything gets done, and everybody can start to collaborate. In my organization, I have a field in ConnectWise in a checkbox. I type in Uncle Marv, and I click the checkbox that says to create the team, and in 5 seconds, team is built, emails in your inbox inviting you to join, and nobody had to touch it at all. At all. So I oftentimes have this conversation. People are like, oh, well, some of these things that you guys are doing with workflow and automation are just low tech. Sure they are, right? But they solve little problems that you don't need to be doing any longer.
Right.
And in many ways, they do them better. People get buried in this idea of we have to find the most complex thing in the world in order to automate that. There's a place for that. If you take the things that are there that you're doing every day that are rote and you automate those, you know what you do for your employees? You raise their happiness level, because they don't have, if we only got a sky mile for every single mouse click that we did, right? We'd all be million milers, but we don't. So this is how we started doing it. And now it's almost become a game. What else can we do? What
Right.
else can we automate?
Yeah. How many things can we speed up to make our lives a little bit easier and, free up? I don't want to call them mundane tasks.
No.
But they're those types of tasks that they eat up the time. They
That's
eat
right.
away, and that's how I view it. So let me do this. We're going to run out of time to talk about all this stuff, but I do want to ask you. We have been in this age of automation and AI for a little bit now, enough that if you were just to look at the automation period alone, we should be a lot further along than we are. And AI should be literally accelerating it. But for a lot of people, it's not. So I know that you're talking with MSPs. So what is it that we are getting wrong about scale, tools, and process?
There's a couple of things. One, and from a conversation earlier today where I saw a real-time poll, there were 700 people in this particular webinar that I was in. 60% of them responded that they're not really doing anything with automation in their organizations. These are MSPs, 60%. That's an astonishingly high number, all right, that are not really doing anything measurable. The reason that I have found with most people that I talk to, most people still are looking at implementing automation and AI like repaving their driveway. It's something I need to get around to doing. It's unsightly. My wife keeps complaining that she's busting her wheels when she drives over the crack in the driveway. I'll get to it. It's not sexy. It's expensive. It takes effort. And I don't know that I'm not sure how much gain I'm going to get from it. That's entirely wrong, by the way. But a lot of people view it that way. You understand what I mean? It's interesting when you talk to people and you draw the conclusions that they see it like paving their driveway, which is wrong. What I'm telling people right now, I said earlier that words matter. Too many times words are being used to describe things, and the effect of the words has been diminished because of the society we live in. Let me give you an example. You may tell me that your shoulder hurts so bad that the only way you're going to cure that's by cutting your arm off. Okay, Marv, I know you're not going to cut your arm off, but I understand that the pain's really bad, right? But we've diminished the value of that because we've gone to the extreme to describe it. You're not going to cut your arm off. You could just say, my arm hurts really bad. When people are talking about AI and where they are in their journey, the same things happen. So many people say, you're behind, you're dead, all these extreme things. I'll give you 2 words that really will encapsulate where people are. If you don't have 50 to 75 workflows running in whatever ITSM you're using, ConnectWise, whatever, you're not, I'm not going to tell you that you're dying, but you know what? You're bleeding internally is what you're doing. And bleeding internally is the worst kind of bleeding you can possibly have. And why is that? Because you usually find out about it too late, and it's usually pretty serious, right? And it's hidden from you. If you're not getting into automation, if you're not there now, get in, because you're bleeding internally. And there's only so long that you can bleed internally, right? Before it becomes, becomes life altering, quite honestly. Too many people are just kind of taking a step in the driveway direction, and they don't understand the velocity that this is moving at. There's been nothing else in your time and my time that has moved at this level of velocity. And there is not a technical barrier standing in the way of doing it. Any of the other paradigm shifts that we've had with technology, so think internet, think cell phone. Do you remember your first cell phone?
Yep.
All right. How big? It was the size of like a carry-on for an aircraft now, right? I mean,
actually, my first mobile phone was hardwired into my car.
Okay. So, right? There was nothing mobile about it, right? Mine was a Panasonic bag phone, right? But the thing about it is that in order to use this, if you remember, those were business first, then consumer, right? Because businesses were the only ones who could afford it.
Right.
The service was $3-4 a minute, and we lived our life in minutes. Hey, 55 seconds, you better hang up that phone so I don't get charged another minute. And God bless if you try to make a long distance call, holy cow,
Oof.
right? Right. Now, technical barrier was the equipment, expensive, and service, right? Business first, then consumers. Now, let's look at what happened with AI. No technical barrier. Hell, ChatGPT put it out there for free. They didn't do a press release. They did a social media post. Gave it to everybody. Here you go. Go try this. Oh, by the way, it's married up to the internet. So no barrier of entry for cost. No technical barrier to use it at all. Just go. And it was consumer first and then business, right? It's a paradigm shift. People that are not waking up and understanding this are bleeding internally, and they don't understand this. That's the key part of the problem that's standing in the way with most of these folks, is that they're looking at it and they're not understanding, and they don't have time to not understand it because of the velocity. You start off with the low-tech ones. Get some wins there and learn how to do this. It's like playing guitar. Nobody picks up, well, I shouldn't say anybody. Some people are able to pick up guitars and start playing Hendrix or start playing Stevie Ray, right? Or start playing Zeppelin. They're just savants. They can just do it.
Yep.
99.9% of the people, what do they have to do? They have to learn chords first. They have to play over and over and over again, right? To understand how that works. And they work up to it. Workflows and automation are exactly the same way as playing guitar. You have to start off with things to learn, get your feet under you, get some success, and then you move towards the complex, and then you'll get success. And all of a sudden, you're going to look and say, I can't believe I waited this long, because now my business can scale without human horsepower. And that's the payoff. I can add hundreds of endpoints in. I don't have to hire another tech. Quality's not suffering. It's the first time in business, where you can add more endpoints, not have to add a body, not sacrifice quality. If you need to succumb to a little bit of price pressure to remain competitive, to come off your MSRP, hey, you can. Why? Because you're maintaining margin and your cost is not going up. Can you think of any other time in our history as business people and MSPs where all those things converged in order to let us grow? The answer is no.
Listen,
never.
we got a little glimpse of it with remote support.
Yes.
When we could start
did.
supporting people without having to get in the car and drive.
Yep.
That was a glimpse.
We did. And it also created a different kind of problem, because now we have a generation of engineers that's never built physical networks.
Correct.
And there's problem solving techniques that you have and I have, because we had to struggle through those things. And we developed problem solving that's very different than the generations that are behind us, right? It doesn't take anything away from them. It's just different, right? AI is much more than that. And the fact that 60% of the MSPs have not put a stake in the ground and started really doing something, it's not even a matter of them getting lapped. I want you to remember, this will be maybe one of the things that comes up on the 2000s show, right? Things that were memorable from Uncle Marv. Rick Harber came out there with Uncle Marv and said, if you're not doing AI now, then you're bleeding internally.
I am not going to make that the name of the show title.
No, you should not.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna go over. I do have one phrase that I wanted to ask you about. I don't know
Yeah.
how much of a segue this is going to be. It's probably going to be a terrible segue, but there is a phrase that I have seen and I have heard that you use, but I've never heard the full explanation.
Mhm.
And it was managing by exception. Can you describe that for me?
Yep. Managing by exception is a methodology that we started to teach to MSPs as we started to when we started to transition into managed services from break fix, and we started to become more dependent on platforms. I realized that there was too much information coming at people, including us, and I started to think about a way I can't keep my eye on every single ticket that's coming in for every single event every single day, right? You remember when you started with the ticketing system and things were coming in and you had a handful of tickets and you could see exactly what was going on and you could take stock in those every single day. And I know what's going on there and I know what's going on there. And
Yep.
that needs a little bit of love, right? We've got hundreds or even thousands of tickets in flight at any given time. We have platforms that are chatty Cathy's, constantly keeping us informed about what's going on, sometimes overloading us. We had to come up with a better way. Um, I have to put faith in a system. I have to put faith in processes that, when followed, that they will do the job the majority of the time. And I want to focus on the things that are stepping out of bounds. That's really at the core what managing by exception is all about. Pay attention to things that are stepping out, and have faith that you've got good process and automation such that are going to take care of the rest. Right. That starts with dashboards instead of status meetings. Right? Where are all the blind spots of everything that we are doing in any given day, right? From my from my point of view, there's about 20 of them. We pay close attention to them. We use Bright Gauge to show those to us every day, but it's telling us when tickets are exceeding SLA. In our world, if there's an MSP ticket that's got more than an hour clocked against it, if there's a ticket out there in the MSP side that's gone 3 days, we call it the no love board. If there's a customer that hasn't felt the love on that ticket in 3 days, that's a problem for me, right? Things like that are blind spots. The information's there. Those are the things that we need to be looking at, and we're managing by exception. I can't establish the disposition on 2,000 tickets every day. I don't need to. I'm going to focus on the ones that are stepping out of bounds. So how do we do that? Well, first, we have to aggregate the data, dashboards, right? And there's defined thresholds that trigger those things to make sure that we're looking at things. If anything comes up in red on that board, my team knows I better not see it. They just know that because it means if it's red, it's already a problem, right? It's already a problem. We have tripped some kind of a wire. Now, doesn't mean that it's detrimental, but it means that there's already a problem. So we teach this methodology to folks of stop trying to put your eyes on every single ticket every single day. It's impossible to do. If you have good process and good things in place, then you can start to see things that are stepping out of bounds and you correct those. You empower ownership at the lowest level with people is what you do. So that when you're managing by exception, it only works if people aren't waiting for approval on the day-to-day stuff that needs to be done, right? And also they're not getting bogged down by all, ticket surfing all day long, which is not what we need, right? That works against the house. It's a time burn, right? Standardization first, exception second. That's the mindset, right?
Mhm.
How do you become a better version of yourself, right? If everything's unique, nothing is an exception, right? And MSPs suffer from that all the time. Well, this is different. And so is this. And so is this. Why is that? You're doing it wrong. You can't do that, right? You can't do that at all, right? And we also have to have exception-based client communications because kind of goes back to what you and I were talking to before the show. We can't just keep telling people the same stuff over and over and over again, number one. But remember that clients don't pay us to tell them all the time that things are fine. They expect us to tell them when things aren't, right? So managing by exception is really all about being better versions of ourselves and working with the tech in order to focus on the things that are important for us to be watching, right? that's really what the most important part is. Stop zooming, stop looking at the things that you're doing great on the SLAs for average. Stop focusing on that. Zoom in on the 5% that are not.
Yep, that was Jared Kasner. I just did a show with him, and the big phrase that stuck out of there was customers don't care about the 500 tickets you solve for them. They care about the one that you didn't.
Nope.
So very interesting.
Yep, absolutely.
Right,
we don't manage the business. We manage the exceptions to how the business should run.
Yep.
That's what we do.
All right, Rick, we are going to have to cut this short. It's been a great conversation.
I thought this was 2 hours.
2 hours? You know what? I've done a 2-hour show, and
I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. But before we go, let me go ahead and get this in here because, as I said at the beginning of the show, people have missed Florida Man. I've kind of backed off of it a little bit, but I do have. Let me pull up I've got a video here, or I thought I did. Where am I here? Oh, maybe I didn't.
You teased out Florida Man. You're going to have to do something.
Well, I have the stories, but I was looking for the video.
Oh.
Yep, where do we go here? I just pulled that up. This makes for great, fantastic. There we go. I had a filter on.
Security.
So, yep.
Damn it.
Invalid file type. Are you kidding me? What? Oh, this is just.
Was it some person doing something crazy?
Yep.
And
here we go. I got it.
Okay, let's see.
Tech on the fly here. So, of course, we're bringing back Florida Man. Great stories. I've got 2 stories here. A pair of tourists were stopped in Central Florida after officers noticed a dead alligator strapped to the roof of their vehicle and covered with a bed sheet as they drove through multiple counties. According to wildlife officials, the travelers said they had hit the animal on the road, then loaded it onto the roof, and only later learned that possessing an alligator is illegal in Florida, and they were hoping to get it stuffed. And then in a second story, a teenager in DeLand was taken into custody after authorities received videos that allegedly showed him abusing a baby alligator, including kicking it and swinging it around. It is disturbing footage, and it is just a reminder, yeah, we have great Florida stories. We talk a lot about gators, but you need to respect our wildlife, folks. So I will have the links to both of those stories in the show notes.
You know, I just learned, you probably know this because you're down there. I just learned about this frozen iguanas dropping out of the trees thing.
Get out of here. I talk about that every year.
I didn't even know this was a thing. Yeah. All right. Until my brother was down there. Sorry you didn't call, by the way, because he was not too far from you. But it was in the wintertime, like when the cold came through Florida, and he was driving around through the neighborhood where his in-laws lived, and there were these iguanas just on the ground, just kind of like this. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, oh, this is what happens. They freeze, they go catatonic, and it just rains iguanas.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is a thing. It is amazing how many people, the biggest thing is usually people just don't believe it. They're like, that can't be real.
Oh, yeah.
It is very real.
Oh, yeah. It was something.
Yep. So
there you go.
All right. Well, Rick, thank you for finally coming on the show. We'll have to get you back on definitely before show 2000.
Yes. I'd love the opportunity to come back.
But I know that you share a lot of this stuff in some of your peer groups and some of your MSP coaching that you're now doing. But it is nice to get an idea for the regular folks out there. Just, what does it take to scale and grow in this day and age? So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. If you just want a practical approach to this, come find me. I'm out there. You can find us. You can go to our website. You can see where we're at. But it's about the practical use of this. And remember that when you look at me, you're looking in the mirror. I'm you and you're me. We've built businesses the same kind of battle scars, same kind of pain. Let me help you. I know I can.
Yep. His information will be in the show notes, folks. So if you enjoyed this episode, share it with another IT owner who's buried in tickets and tools. We'll be back next week with another live episode. I will have a bunch of other episodes out, including more handheld testing tools. I have 2 more tools to go up against the NetAlly. So you'll be surprised to hear what those are. And then I'll be at the Enable Empower next week. And then next month, I will be in Minnesota for an ACES Apple conference. So that is going to do it, folks. We will see you on the next episode. And until then, holla.